If there's one person in this industry who perfectly fits the definition of eccentric genius, it's Hideo Kojima. A lot of the times that eccentricity manifests in truly bizarre ways, which means that over the years there's been no shortage of weird moments in games by Hideo Kojima. Some have left us scratching our heads in confusion, some have been delightful for reasons we could never have seen coming. In this feature, we're going to talk about a few weird moments in the Metal Gear Solid series that, for one reason or another, are hard to forget. Before we go ahead, a quick request. We upload new videos every single day, and your subscription matters a lot. So please consider subscribing and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. With that out of the way, let's begin. FISSION mailed. Metal Gear Solid 2. Perhaps one of the more memorable sequences in Metal Gear Solid 2, as Raiden and Snake are making their way through Arsenal Gear, and the true mystery of the story begins unraveling, Metal Gear Solid 2 gets really weird. The game over screen pops up out of nowhere, only it's no ordinary game over screen, with all the text jumbled up and players still having control of Raiden. Hell, at one point the Colonel even flat out tells you to stop playing the game. It's freaky, but in the best way possible. Time Paradox, Metal Gear Solid 3. Ocelot has been at the center of pretty much every major event that has happened in the convoluted and winding story of the Metal Gear series. But what if he died before he could ever do any of that stuff? Well, Metal Gear Solid 3 lets you try that out and gets really playful with you if you do. At one point, if you kill Ocelot, you get a game over screen and are informed that you have created a time paradox. It's a small touch, and the game could have just as easily gotten away with simply not allowing you to kill Ocelot. But it's great that it thought of even such a tiny little detail. Everything to do with Johnny. Metal Gear has had a ton of excellent characters over the years. Johnny Sasaki is definitely not one of them.
If it's alright, call me Johnny.
Every time he's appeared in a Metal Gear Solid game, he served no purpose other than being comic relief, and that comic relief has more often than not resorted to toilet humor, literally. A character who seems to suffer from chronic explosive diarrhea isn't exactly anyone's idea of funny, but apparently Johnny didn't get the memo. Naked Raiden, Metal Gear Solid 2. Metal Gear Solid 2 calls back to Metal Gear Solid 1 in several ways, for obvious narrative reasons, but every now and then it follows up on familiar elements with completely new twists. Raiden being captured and tied to a device is quite similar to what happened to Snake in Metal Gear Solid 1, but what happens next is exclusive to Raiden, unfortunately for him. In the midst of the chaos of the situation, he has to sneak his way past enemies and patrols wearing a whole lot of nothing. It's bizarre, but hey, the sequence sticks out in memory, so it succeeds in what it sets out to do. Breaking the fourth wall, Metal Gear Solid 1. Obviously, this moment was going to be in this feature. A perfect example of the good kind of weird moments, of which there's no shortage in the series, and in many ways an encapsulation of the offbeat vibe of all Metal Gear. Psycho Mantis making your controller move and reading your memory card to see what other games you've been playing of late is by no means crucial to the story or to the gameplay, but it's an excellent moment that not only pulls off its gimmick with great aplomb, but also suits the character of Psycho Mantis perfectly. The end of the end, Metal Gear Solid 3. Excellent boss fights have been one of Metal Gear's biggest strengths for most of its life, and Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater was full of them as well. The dramatic sniper battle against the delightfully and ridiculously strange The End was a highlight in particular, but players can choose to defeat him in a much less dramatic and typically weird fashion. Just sit around and wait for the aging old man to die on his own. It's ridiculous that Kojima even thought of that, even more ridiculous that he decided to put it in the game, and beyond belief that it actually works this well. Snake's Nightmare, Metal Gear Solid 3. If the HD re-release or the 3DS version are the only way you've played Metal Gear Solid 3, you might not even know that this was in the game. In the game's original PS2 release, right after Naked Snake is tortured by Vol'jin, if you save the game and then load that particular save, you'll find yourself in an entirely new minigame. The sequence, which is just a nightmare that Snake is having, sees players take control of Guy Savage, a man wielding two hook swords who goes up against waves of zombie-like creatures in a proper hack-and-slash sequence. It's ridiculously out of place and bizarre and completely disconnected from the rest of the game, which is perhaps why it works as well as it does. The Ladder, Metal Gear Solid 3. The Ladder. One of the best and boldest sequences not just in Metal Gear Solid 3, but probably in the entire series, or maybe even in any game ever. That might sound like hyperbole, but it's a sequence that works on so many levels. For starters, the sheer audacity of a sequence that might seem so unnecessary on paper is laudable. More importantly, however, it's the perfect blend of quiet introspection, cinematic flair, subtly building tension, and of course, excellent music. Weird? Yes, absolutely. Ingenious? Without a doubt. Skating Fatman, Metal Gear Solid 2. Most major bosses in Metal Gear Solid games tend to have some strange gimmicks that define them, but Fatman is probably the strangest of them all. An overweight bomb-building master who is also an expert skater. That's the epitome of a gleeful caricature. What makes it stand out even more is that translates to gameplay as well. Seeing Fatman skate around in the midst of a tense boss fight is simply put, surreal. Saving Hideo Kojima, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. Hideo Kojima loves putting celebrities in his games. Hideo Kojima is a celebrity himself. Put those together and you have Hideo Kojima putting himself in his own game. That's exactly what happened in Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, in which the primary goal of one of the side ops was to rescue a character named Hideo. Hideo was, of course, voiced by Kojima himself, who also provided his likeness for the character. Ocelot living up to his name, Metal Gear Solid 3. Ocelot obviously takes his name very seriously. Metal Gear Solid 3 is full of weird moments, but Ocelot meowing like an actual ocelot for pretty much no reason whatsoever is definitely up there. What makes this scene funnier is the fact that this was the first time Naked Snake met Ocelot. Clearly, he must have a pretty strange impression of the guy. How exactly did he manage to take Ocelot seriously in all the stuff they went through together in the years after that, when his first memory of the man was him meowing like a cat? The hospital sequence, Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Metal Gear Solid 5 was, unlike its predecessors, a vast and open experience with very little focus on direct storytelling. That said, that wasn't how the game started off. The opening hour of the game is a strictly linear affair as Venom Snake makes his way through a hellish attack on the hospital he wakes up in, and man is it full of unbelievably outlandish sights. A massive whale floating in the sky, a devilish man on fire, a young psycho mantis, a flaming unicorn. Yeah, that opening hour is packed. Liquid Ocelot's introduction, Metal Gear Solid 2.
It's been a while, brother.
Who are you?
You know who I am.
Liquid?
Not so young anymore, eh, Snake?
Ocelot replaced the arm he lost in Metal Gear Solid 1 with Liquid Snake's arm, which allowed the latter to live on by possessing the former. That's a crucial plot point that much of Metal Gear Solid 2 and 4 are built on, and we take it for granted. Of course, as Metal Gear Solid 4 eventually reveals, that's not what actually happened, but that's not the point. Because up until the point that that's revealed, everyone in the game's world and even the audiences believed that it did happen, which is ridiculous, right? I know a lot of weird stuff goes on in Metal Gear, but this one takes things a bit too far. The Sorrow's River, Metal Gear Solid 3. The Sorrow is perhaps one of the most fascinating Metal Gear characters of all time. And when he gets his moment to shine in Metal Gear Solid 3, he really shines. The sequence where Naked Snake makes his way through the Stars River, encountering the tortured souls of every person he has killed, is pretty bone-chilling. It comes out of nowhere and is completely unexpected, and yet it doesn't feel unearned. It sprinkles just the right amount of superficial elements into the game without taking things a bit too far, and it's exactly because of that balance that it's such an unforgettable sequence. The PS3's Blu-ray discs were a pretty big deal back when the console was still new, owing to the fact that switching out discs while having to play games was no longer something players had to worry about. In true Metal Gear fashion, Metal Gear Solid 4 decided to call attention to that fact in the best way possible. It did it with a codec call in which Otacon contacts Snake to tell him that he needs to swap the next disc to keep playing before correcting himself and happily proclaiming that on the PS3, players don't need to worry about that sort of thing anymore. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and we would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.